How do we get from here to here? Well, maybe we have to multiply this by itself a few times. So ABC times ABC times ABC and so on. We really don't know how many times, so I'm just going to put the dots there. And then maybe we have to multiply this expression by this a few times. So I'm just going to put a b squared c cubed dot dot dot. We really don't know how many, so I'll just put the dots here. And then maybe we have to multiply this thing by this a couple times. So ab to the 4th, c to the 9th. I'll put this here a couple times and a couple of dots. And just because we don't know how many times. And maybe if we multiply all this together, we're going to end up with a to the power of 4, b to the power of 7, c to the power of 12. But how many times do we need to multiply ABC by itself? We don't know, so we're just going to say it's x times. But if we're multiplying this by itself x times, effectively, what are we doing with this? We're raising this to the power of x. And if we're going to raise the left-hand side to the power of x, what do we need to do to the right-hand side? We also need to raise it to the power of x. Same thing here. We really don't know how many times this has to be multiplied by itself. So we're going to say y, and then what do we do with this equation? We have to raise it to the power of y. Similarly here, I'm just going to put z times here, and this gets raised to the power of z. Great. Okay, so if we're going to raise this to the power of x, what's another way we can write this as? So I'm going to draw a line here. Okay, so another way to write this is, so this would be a to the power of x, b to the power of x, c to the power of x. So this is just how you get rid of the parentheses here. Okay, and that's going to be equal to how much? 16 to the power of x. Okay, and how do we get rid of the parentheses here? We're going to say it's a to the power of y, b to the power of how much? Well, we actually have to multiply 2 and y. So 2 times y is how many y? 2y. And then this is going to be c to the power of how much? 3 times y. So 3y is equal to 18 to the power of y. And if we do something similar for the last equation, we're going to get a to the power of z, b to the power of 4z, c to the power of 9z is equal to 24 to the power of z. Great. And so this, when we multiply all this together, we're going to end up with how much again? We're going to end up with this, which was the same thing as this. So I'm going to write a to the power of x, b to the power of x, c to the power of x here. I'll write a to the power of y, b to the power of 2y, c to the power of 3y here. And I'll write a to the power of z, b to the power of 4z, and c to the power of 9z over here. And okay, so if I'm multiplying this, this, and this, that's the same thing as multiplying this, this, and this. And we're saying that we're going to end up with this. So let's get another sheet of paper. Okay, so if we multiply those 3 expressions together, what are we going to get? Okay, so let's see here. So this expression times this expression times this expression is going to give us this one. So let's just copy that. So a to the power of x, b to the power of x times c to the power of x times this one times a to the power of y, b to the power of 2y times c to the power of 3y times this, which is a to the power of z, b to the power of 4z, and c to the power of 9z is equal to this. Oops. A to the power of 4, b to the power of 7, c to the power of 12. Okay. And how do we combine these exponents? Well, a to the power of x times a to the power of y times a to the power of z, we can just add the exponents. So x plus y plus z. And then how do we combine this, this, and this? So this is going to be b to the power of x plus 2y plus 4z. So b to the power of x plus 2y plus 4z. Okay, and c is going to give us c to the power of x plus 3y plus 9z. And this is going to be equal to this. So a to the power of 4, b to the power of 7, c to the power of 12. Okay, so now we have the a's matching, the b's matching, the c's matching. So we can go ahead and match the exponents as well. So x plus y plus z, that's going to be equal to 4. And then this one's going to be equal to this one, because b gets raised to the same power. Okay, so that's x plus 2y plus 4z is equal to how much? Is equal to 7. And then x plus 3y plus 9z is equal to this, so 12. And how do we solve this? Well, this is all matching, so I'm going to use elimination. So I'm going to do this equation minus this equation. So this minus this is how much? 0. This minus this is how much? So 2y minus y is how many y? 1y. 4z minus 1z is how many z? It's 3z. And then 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay, and then this minus this is how much? So now I'm going to subtract these two equations. So this minus this is how much? 0. This minus this is how much? Y. This minus this is how much? 5z. Okay, 12 minus 7 is 5. Okay, so now we have two equations and two unknowns. So let's keep going. This minus this is how much? Nothing. This minus this, 2z. And then this minus this is 2. So if I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to get z is equal to 1. And to figure out what y is, I can just go back to this equation and change z to 1. So if I do that, what do I get? I get y plus 3 times 1 is equal to 3. So y plus 3 is 3. So that gives us y is equal to 0 if we subtract 3 from both sides. Okay, so we know y is 0, z is 1. And how do we figure out x? Well, we change y here to 0, and we can change z here to 1. So let's go ahead and do that. So x plus 0, because that's what y is. And z is how much? Z is 1, so plus 1 is equal to 4. So x is equal to 3. Okay, so we know x is equal to 3, y is equal to how much? 0, and z is equal to 1. Okay, so how do we figure out what this is equal to? So this was the same thing as so this is the same thing as how much? Okay, so I'll also write this is abc to the power of x. This is also okay, so abc to the power of x is also how much to the power of x? 16 to the power of x. And we said x was how much? Let's go back. X was 3. Okay, so we're going to say this is equal to 16 to the power of 3. Okay, how about here? Okay, so y was how much? Y was 0. Okay, so that means this gets raised to the power of 0. I'm going to rewrite this as a b squared c cubed to the power of 0. Which is just 18 to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is just 1. So far we have 16 cubed times 1. And then this is how much? So z was how much again? 1. So that means, that means a b to the power of 4, c to the power of 9. It got raised to the power of 1. And this is equal to 24 to the power of 1. Because this is the same thing as 24. 24 to the power of 1. And that'll give you what this is. So our final answer, let's see here. Okay, so our final answer is going to be 16 cubed times 1 times 24 to the power of 1. Let me know what you get in the comments. You can use a calculator to figure this out.